Welcome to Females and Fine Fettle, from Wiped Out to Wealthy. This is where conscientious women entrepreneurs and women living like a boss come to learn about balancing their personal and professional wellness with ease. If you have the enthusiasm, motivation, and grit to make it happen, then listen up every Monday. To be sure you don't miss an episode, sign up for weekly updates at femalesandfinefettle.com. The following discussion is for educational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose or treat any disease. Please don't apply any of this information without first speaking with your doctor. Now, here are your hosts, Denise Pasquinelli and Dr. Michelle, your natural women's health advocates who blend the wisdom of ancient healing traditions and the science of functional medicine.
Hey there, and welcome back to another episode. Today, Denise and I are flexing our creative muscles by switching things up a bit.
Yes. We want to change things up a bit with this episode, which is usually a Q&A where we answer your questions. But today we're going to ask some juicy questions of you. So this episode is meant to be interactive, and we hope it will get your creative juices flowing. So you may want to listen when you're at home with a notebook and wanting to get the creative sparks flying. So we have a couple of different exercises for you to explore and get playful with. Some of these exercises were inspired by the choreographer Twyla Tharp in her book, The Creative Habit. We will link to that in the show notes. And we're excited to share.
Woohoo! Yeah, so depending on where and when you're listening to this episode, feel free to pause at any time to implement or ponder these exercises and prompts that we're going to be talking about.
Awesome. So the first one is a simple movement exercise called Do a Verb. And the idea is to take 10 verbs and explore each one with movement. So verbs like walk or twist or curl, float, spin, surrender, etc. And then allow your body to express the verb. So there's no wrong way to do this. The point is to just get into your body and play. Even something as simple as the verb walk can be contorted and explored in all sorts of crazy ways. You could play with pace and you could add some spins or create a little rhythm just for yourself. Surprise yourself with new ways of expressing the same old thing. Moving from the mind into the body is an incredible way to get the creative juices flowing. Your body is the way that you experience the outside world. So drop in and play. So again, to do this exercise, generate a list of 10 verbs and then express them with your body and have fun.
I was just thinking you could probably also do this with onomatopoeias.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
That'd be so fun. Anyway, yes, this one is great. It definitely helps move that stagnant energy we were talking about in episode 52, right? Also, is hula hoop a verb?
Hula hooping is.
Yes.
ING it.
Awesome. So anyway, feel free to pause here before moving on to the next prompt if you want.
Great. So our second exercise is a challenge, finding a way to challenge yourself. So Twyla Tharp says that before you can think outside of the box, you have to start with a box. So the way that we're thinking of a challenge is that we're going to create a box or a constraint that your creativity can bump up against. So something that's going to force you to think about something in a whole new way. I love this story about George Harrison writing the song, My Guitar Gently Weeps. It really illustrates this idea in a great way. This was shared in the book Anthology about the Beatles. And in it, he says, I wrote while my guitar gently weeps at my mother's house in Warrington. I was thinking about the Chinese I Ching, the Book of Changes. The Eastern concept is that whatever happens is all meant to be, and that there's no such thing as coincidence. Every little item that's going down has a purpose. So the song While My Guitar Gently Weeps was a simple study based on that theory. I decided to write a song based on the first thing I saw upon opening any book. And as it would be a relative to that moment and at that time, So I picked up a book at random. I opened it. I saw Gently Weeps. Then I laid down the book and I started writing the song. Isn't that crazy?
That's wild. I love little trivia like that. So cool.
I know. I do too. Dr. Seuss has created similar challenges for himself. I think the book The Green Eggs and Ham is a result of a challenge to write a children's book with only 50 words. And then The Cat in the Hat was written using only a first grade vocabulary list. So cute.
So awesome.
So yeah, I mean, have fun with this. An appropriate constraint for you will kind of depend on your creative medium. If you're a cook, you might choose to cook with seasonal veg only, or maybe orange colored foods only. Your sacral chakra would dig on that. Or if you're a painter, you could just use one color and create different shades of that and see what happens when you're exploring that. Or if you're a content creator, you could set a timer and just generate ideas. Just let the period be completely generative, no editing, and see what comes from that.
Totally. Those are great ideas. One way that I apply this into my personal content creation and our podcast content creation is by having monthly themes. So, for example, this month being creativity and play, obviously, while next month is wealthy and worthy. So Denise and I have also, we've also created weekly themes within our monthly themes to help keep us inspired yet really focused. And this is pretty new thing for us. We've, implemented it in the past couple months, but I think it's been working out really well so far. But these little boxes per se really help me and I think us get creative without getting lost or overwhelmed with possibility, which can lead to creative paralysis, right? So if you have the time, feel free to pause here before we move on to the third prompt.
Terrific. So our third exercise is one called Write Your Creative Autobiography. And this is one that's straight out of Twyla Tharp's book. She has a really wonderful questionnaire called My Creative Autobiography. It is a series of 33 questions that prompt you to dive into what your unique brand of creativity looks like. And you kind of dig into your history. It's really fun. Instead of going through the whole exercise here, we want to share just a few of those questions with you now, but we will link to all of the questions in the show notes. So the first question, so if you're going to write it out, you could get your journal, get your pen, get ready. The first question is, what is the first creative moment you remember? And I think this one is really fun as it ties back to our deep dive episode 52 and the sacral chakra. And that chakra of creativity, it rules our early childhood years. So what is the first creative moment you remember? What is that first spark? And then question number 2 is, was anyone there to witness or appreciate it? And this kind of ties back to our chakra episode as well, in that if you think about if your first creative act was kind of like not celebrated or maybe even overly celebrated, who knows, that is going to affect maybe the expression of your throat chakra in the future, right? Like the first way your creativity is received, that's going to stick with us and stick in our bodies. So question number 2 again was anyone there to witness or appreciate your first creative act? Number 3, when you're at work, do you love the process or do you love the result? This is a really good one. Michelle and I were talking about this earlier in thinking about delegation. You could think about this from a really practical sense, like, am I a starter? Do I love to start, but I hate to finish? Can I find somebody to help me finish, for example? Number 4, what are your attitudes toward money, power, praise, rivals, work, and play? So again, that's your attitudes towards money, power, praise, rivals, work, and play.
I don't know why, but that question makes me think of pirates.
Oh my God, I love that. That's great.
So random. Anyway.
I would love for you to run wild with that. And then the last question that we'll share from this much fuller exercise is, does anyone in your life regularly inspire you? And we could add to that how and why. So last question, does anyone in your life regularly inspire you? How and why? And again, if you want to do the whole questionnaire, which is really a lot of fun, we will link to the full set of questions from the book in the show notes.
Awesome. Just hearing a lot of those questions actually makes me feel a bit vulnerable for some reason. I know it's kind of interesting, but I think, it's kind of related to our sacral chakra, right? So yeah. I guess I should kind of dive into this exercise.
Yeah, you might unearth some fun stuff. And then finally, your final exercise is kind of a long one, or it could be as long or as short as you'd like. And it is taking a field trip. So not just any field trip, but one that is a little voyage for your intuition. So take an hour or maybe a whole day if you can, or a week, whatever you can afford. And let your intuition be your guide for that whole period of time. So set out without a plan, just the notion that you will say yes to whatever piques your interest, and let your inner compass guide your way. This kind of harkens back to episode 50 when we were talking about that idea of getting lost.
Totally.
So take the opportunity to get lost.
This is probably my favorite one. I've got like the serious travel itch right now. Like I want to go to South America real bad. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Peru, maybe Costa Rica. I know that's not South America, but I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, send it out. I love that idea.
Awesome. So that's a wrap for today. I hope that you got some creative juices flowing. Next week is a bonus week. It is the 5th Monday of the month, and I did a really super special interview with Utrients, that Canadian-based company that I've been talking all about on Instagram and Facebook. This is a revolutionary lab who specializes in mapping out genetic pathways in order to identify our weakest links and give us the tools to positively influence our health. And we can learn how to use specific lifestyle, food, nutrient recommendations to enhance our executive function, things like our focus and our mood, things like detox pathways, hormone pathways, and a whole lot more. So be sure to tune in. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll chat soon.
Bye now.
Thank you for listening to Females in Fine Fettle, From Wiped Out to Wealthy, a podcast to fit your lifestyle. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe, rate, and review at femalesinfinefettle.com. If you have questions or topic ideas for upcoming episodes, we'd love to hear from you. Please be sure to tune in next week.